Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the webinar today based on Dynamics NAV 2016 What's New. Before we start the presentation today, could you just kindly just send me a note to make sure that you can hear me okay, using the either the questions or chat box in your control panel for GoToMeeting. So make sure everyone can hear us and see the screens okay before we start. Good, get some responses through. Brilliant, excellent. Okay, can we crack through this then? Right. So we're going to we'll carry out some inductions first. I'm joined today by my colleague Emma Wright. We're then going to do a very brief EBEX overview, mainly because I recognise there are some attendees today that aren't EBEX customers, just to give you a brief overview about who we are. Then we're going to dive into what's new in NAV 2016. We will have a questions and answers session if available at the end, but we did one of the webinars first thing this morning. We did go through for some time. Please, as we go through the presentation, if you want to send us your questions, then please do. If we have space at the end, then we'll obviously answer them. Otherwise, we'll come back to you separately. So my name is Stuart Binfield. I'm the head of NAV for EBEX, and my colleague today, Emma Wright, who's our solutions consultant, who's taking you through the presentation. So very quickly, an EBEX overview. EBEX are one of the largest Dynamics partners in the UK, with over 275 staff. Based in head office in Chesterfield. We have offices based in Swindon and London as well. We do have offices in Atlanta and in Saudi Arabia, and we have a development centre in Jordan. The majority of our business is carried out in the UK, so over our 300 customers, about 90% of those are UK based. We've been around for some time, since 1999. We're privately owned, and we've been profitable now, and about 30 million turnover in revenues. The big thing to take away from today is we are 100% Microsoft focused. Now, part of the presentation that Emma's going to take you through will talk about the benefits of Dynamics NAV 2016, but a lot around the collaboration with the native integration to other Microsoft solutions that EBEX can talk to you about. So nicely on to the next slide, which kind of shows you really what we concentrate on. So we are ERP specialists for NAV and AX. We've got a team, a division for CRM, Dynamics CRM, and a division for business intelligence, which includes latest technology, which again, and we'll show you later on today, around Power BI. We can also deploy Office 365. We've got mobile solutions, and we do have our own managed service team as well. Just to give a little bit on our accreditation, we've now been voted the Microsoft Dynamics Partner of the Year now for the last 4 years, and also 5 out of the last 6. We're part of the Inner Circle, which is offered to 1% of the partner channel. We get involved in quite a lot with Microsoft on that. And we came second recently in a Global Partner of the Year for CRM. And as you expect, we are gold partners both for the ERP software, NAV and AX, plus business intelligence and customer relationship management. That's the bit I want to take you through on EBEX. So I'm going to hand you across now to Emma Wright to take you through the presentation.
Good afternoon. Everyone that's joining us today on the webinar is already a Dynamics NAV user. The focus for today is to go through the different features that are now available with NAV 2016. As you can see there's been a lot of changes in NAV over the past release. Work's gone into native connections with Power BI, Azure and CRM. I'm going to do a section on all of the elements that you can see there. As you can appreciate, there's a lot of information around each of those different areas. So my aim for today is to just give you a high-level look at all of the different areas. If after the webinar you've got any questions, we'll try and answer them if we get time. Alternatively, if there is a particular area that you'd like to see in a bit more depth, please let us know and we can do an individual demonstration on the various areas for you. So NAV 2016 supports various client types now. So we can see that we've got the opportunity to use NAV or Windows client. We can also use the application through a web client, a tablet client, and the new client type for 2016 is the ability to use NAV on a smartphone. And you can see there Windows, iOS and Android are all supported. So as Stuart mentioned, one of the key factors with NAV is the Microsoft Suite collaboration. So what you can see there is a login to Office 365. So we can see that with a single login we can go into SharePoint, we can go into Power BI, CRM and NAV. So part of the session today is going to be talking about the different integration elements between NAV, CRM, Power BI and SharePoint. So the first section relates to NAV 2016 on Azure. So what's new? So NAV 2016 can now be configured to use an Azure SQL database as a service. So Azure is in the cloud and it can be purchased as a service along with other Microsoft offerings. So why do we need this? Bringing Azure into your company means that you can potentially reduce pressure on your internal IT teams by relieving some of the admin that they have to do on both your infrastructures and your databases. You can reduce your costs, so your upfront investment is significantly reduced, and you can pay monthly for your SQL services. So NAV 2016 will allow you to connect your NAV server instance to a database running within the cloud, basically, on an Azure SQL database. So I've got a couple of graphs to try and make a bit more sense of that area. So we can see in the first box, SQL Server based on traditional on-premise loaded onto a server in your office. The next step away from that is Azure on virtual machines, and the element that we're focusing on today and that works as a new element with NAV 2016 is the actual database itself being in the cloud. So the idea of this slide is to give you a clear review of the different offerings and the different ways that you can deploy SQL. So you've got there your traditional on-premise where you're looking after everything. We've got infrastructure as a service where we can see that you as a company are still looking after your SQL Server, your operating systems, but Azure is looking after the servers, networking, etc. The final choice is platform as a service. So Azure is managing everything apart from your actual database and your applications. So with regard to your database administration, you would still be looking after things like your users and the roles and the security permissions that they can get into. So that's just a really quick look to give you an idea of the different offerings. You can have hybrid solutions where you may have NAV on-premise and CRM in the cloud. So we're happy to talk to you about any of those different solutions and help you work out which is going to be best for your business. So the next integration with NAV that I'd like to talk to you about is NAV in SharePoint. Now, NAV in SharePoint, so in previous versions of NAV, it has been possible for you to run a SharePoint client. So what we're looking at here is data views of information within Sharepoint, we can see that we've got information to do with our cash cycles, we've got trial balances. We can also actually process transactions through Sharepoint. So we can go in and, for example, put sales orders on. So if I wanted to give sales order processors access to Sharepoint and have a part within that for NAV, we can do that. The new element with the integration between NAV 2016 and Sharepoint allows us to set a default connection to a site within Sharepoint. I've called mine NAV in my example, and we can have default documents folder, for example, within that. So if I then export any information from NAV, you can see the examples I've got there of a customer list or a sales order list. That will by default put that into my Sharepoint site and my NAV documents folder. So we're really truly integrating. There is no messy connector tools required. In NAV, I simply tell it the URL of my Sharepoint. So it's really easy to connect all the different pieces from the Microsoft suite. So moving swiftly on to look at the integration with CRM. So what's new? Again, it's an integration piece. So there's, as you can see, there's a bit of a theme. There's a lot of new integrations that have been added in. So this allows us to have a seamless experience using CRM and NAV. So we can use CRM for our customer engagement and our customer relationship elements. And we can use Dynamics NAV for things like order processing and our key financials. So why do we need this? We have been able to integrate NAV and CRM together in the past. The efficiencies that we gain from doing that mean that users can make better informed decisions without switching between products. The tighter integration that we have makes it easier for us to put ourselves into the situation where we can see the information that we require in either NAV or CRM. The integration means that it's now very simple and easy to set up the link between NAV and CRM. Again, you don't need any connector tools. We simply enter the URL for our Dynamics CRM into our NAV installation. The installation means that we have lots of default entries that are already created out of the box. So it means that this can be set up really quickly without any sort of programming knowledge or any high levels of coding, which in the past would have been the case. So on the screen there we can see the default integration table mappings. The example that's highlighted shows that within NAV we have a customer record. The table that links to within CRM is an account. We can see that we've got templates applied to that. So for all the users of NAV, you know that when you add a new customer, there is certain mandatory information that we need to fill in, such as customer templates, posting groups. So the customer template will populate the posting groups for us. So we can create an account in either NAV or CRM, and the data will flow and sync between both applications. So what you can see now is an example of the default linked entities. So we can see that we can, from within NAV, look at things like CRM opportunities, products that we've got. So we can have our master data within NAV, and we can still use those products within CRM when we're creating quotes or sales orders. The screen at the moment is showing Dynamics CRM. So you can see there that we've got information pulled through from NAV. On the right hand side of the screen we've got Dynamics NAV account statistics. We can see the customer ID within NAV, we can see the balance, and we can see things like outstanding sales orders, outstanding invoices, etc. So this means that when I'm working in CRM, talking to clients, I can see where they are from a financial position. So I can see if they owe us money, so I'm aware of that when I make a phone call to them. I can also, if I want to access the NAV system, there may be more information that I want, by simply clicking on the NAV link from within CRM, I can open up the account record within Dynamics NAV. The view that we can see there is the NAV Web Client. So for those of you who are on older versions, you might still have the NAV Classic client. You can see the look and feel of this is very Windowsy, and if you're used to using Windows 8 or Windows 10, you'll be very familiar with the look and feel of this. So from here we can see that we're in the NAV customer record. From within the NAV customer record we can see CRM information. We can see there opportunities and quotes that have been created within CRM, and we can drill into that information from NAV if we need to. So the next area that I'd like to talk to you about are the enhancements within the web client. So what's new? There's actually quite a lot that's new. Over 60 enhancements to the web client. So Microsoft have refocused on simplicity, productivity and performance. So why did we need this? To allow users to work efficiently in the web client and utilise the web client to its full potential. Why couldn't we do that before? Because the functionality between the clients wasn't really uniform. Previous versions of the web client didn't match the Windows client functionality. There's also been a focus on making the tablet client easier to use. So new features to make it easier to use the tablet or the phone NAV application. So as there are 60 enhancements, I've picked out my top 4 to talk you through and show you. Please let us know if you want a list of all of the web client enhancements. So the first option that I have there, show or hide columns. So as we know, as users of the NAV Windows client, we can show and hide columns on our forms to personalise it, to show the fields that we use on a regular basis. We can now change the work date within the web client. So that was a real big one, that in the previous version you couldn't change the work date. So that meant if you are in a finance department and you are working on your month end, chances are you might want to change your work date. In previous versions you couldn't do that from within a web client. So the next one was fairly important as well. It wasn't possible to change the company whilst logged into the web client. We can now do that. The lookups, I'll show you how that works. Within the web client, we can type in a word and it will search across all of the columns that are available on the list at the time. So you don't need to specify which column you want to search on. Within the NAV web client, we can right click as you'd expect, and we can now access choose columns, and we can tick on and off the columns that we want to see on our view. In my settings, we've got the key areas there of being able to change the company and, very importantly, the work date. We can also change things like the language, the region and the time zone within here. So if you've got staff working in different time zones, they can set their settings on their web client to suit their location. So the type across columns that I mentioned, the customer record list, by simply typing in the word Mike, it's filtered out all of my customers to show me only customers where the name Mike appears. So that makes it really easy for you to navigate and find information without having to list a specific field to search upon. So that's the end of this section. The final thing just to show you there is the Windows client. The Small Business Role Centre is shown on the screen there, and there have been some changes to how queues work within that and out-of-the-box KPIs that are available on that particular role centre. So please let us know if you want a bit more information on the role centres. Okay, NAV 2016 in Power BI. So what's new? We've got a new content pack in Power BI. So what is Power BI and why do we need a content pack? So I'll explain to you what Power BI is. The idea of the NAV content pack means that we can connect a NAV instance to Power BI very quickly and get started within minutes of looking at business information on a dashboard. So what is Power BI? Power BI is a business intelligence tool that we can access as part of our Office 365 login. The Power BI solution means that we can have dashboards connecting up to the NAV system. It's BI for the people. So the idea of this is that it's an easy to use BI tool. So you can see there it says a self-service BI tool. So the concept is that it's simple and straightforward and makes you master of your own destiny, being able to slice and dice the information and ask the dashboards questions, which I will show you. So now that NAV is linked natively to Power BI, it means that when we log into Power BI, we can select the content package. So the example that you can see there, we can click on the NAV icon and it will ask us where our instance of NAV is that we want to connect to. You can also see there that obviously it works with NAV 2016, but Power BI will link to earlier versions of NAV 2015 and 2013 R2. So you don't need to be on the latest version in order to take advantage of this. So the NAV data can be used within minutes within Power BI. There are out-of-the-box reports. So we get 6 sales reports and 1 finance report. So you might think that doesn't sound a lot, 1 finance report. But actually, the report holds lots of information that we're just displaying in various charts and KPIs. So we can actually ask the dashboard questions. So it will look at the underlying report and it will change for us and provide us a suggestion of a chart that it thinks we might be looking for. The example I have here is sales by customer. By starting to type, so I've started to type show amount by postcode, I haven't even finished typing and it's suggesting to me my sales split out by postcode in a bar chart. Same thing again, but this time started to type show my sales amount by country and we can see it's put together a chart for me. So if this is information that I want to see all the time, I can simply pin that to my dashboard. So once the reports are in there, it's very easy for you to play around with it and get the exact KPIs that you're interested in for your business. So for the more technical of you out there, I've got an overview of the structure of Power BI. Power BI is in the cloud. There is a Power BI designer which you can use on your desktop to create your reports and then publish it up to the cloud. You can see there that we can also analyse data from various different sources using Power BI. It could be Excel, it could be your NAV data. Data can be pulled from various different sources in order for you to get your BI reports. You can see in the bottom right hand there that Power BI can be deployed to your tablets and your phones as well. So workflow. What's new? Well, workflow is new to NAV, the whole thing. It allows us to design and execute business processes within NAV. So for me as a person that's worked with NAV for many years, the addition of workflows is very, very exciting. It's something that we always get asked for, and for us to be able to now say that NAV has workflows is amazing. So why do we need them? Workflows help you to put processes into place that are consistent. We can also reduce time that is taken for processes to flow through. So we can actually put workflows in that will do the work for us. We can make sure that nothing's forgotten. So we can have notifications sent out, for example, for approvals, and if I'm supposed to be approving a purchase order for someone and I don't do that, the system's going to know that and it's all going to be monitored. It can remind me again, or it could tell someone else that I haven't done it. There are lots and lots of uses of workflows. The automated processes. You could have a workflow that creates a task for a salesperson to contact a customer after the customer's first order has been shipped. It's endless different opportunities for workflows to make efficiencies in the workplace. Workflows, essentially the building blocks are approvals, notifications and process automation. So notification is telling a user that something happened or that I need to do something. Process automation could be several steps within NAV that can be automated rather than the person doing it. The most common example of use of a workflow is purchase order approval. The example on the screen shows that whenever a purchase order is created, it's going to insist that an approval request is placed. It will look through the hierarchy of approvers and send a request to the relevant user that they need to approve the purchase order. I've got an example of that so you can see the idea. On the screen at the moment we have NAV purchase order with a status of open. So if we try to release that, it will tell us the document can only be released when the approval process is complete. So we need to send an approval request. So an approval request has been sent, and we can see that the pending approval status now applies to the purchase order. That has sent an email to Peter, as he's the approver in my example, and he can see that he's got a purchase order that he needs to approve on his system. He can, from the email, click on the link for the web client. This will take him straight into the NAV Web Client and show him requests that require his approval. within here he can approve, reject or delegate. We're going to approve it, and we can see that now back in the purchase order the status is released. So that's a simple example of a workflow that can be implemented with NAV 2016. Functional enhancements, what are they? So we've got posting preview, deferrals, we've got word layout and email enhancements, and we've got changes to how document management works within NAV. So the posting preview, this allows the user, before they've posted a transaction, to view the impact that that posting is going to have on all the ledgers. So in older versions of NAV, if you think when you post a purchase invoice, you can then navigate and view the GL entries that that invoice made when it was posted. This posting preview is basically allowing us to see that impact before we've actually hit post. So if we preview it and realise that we've got the wrong posting groups, we've got the wrong GL codes being posted to, we can quickly make the amendment before we actually post it. So deferrals is new. So deferrals allows you to automate the process of deferring revenues and expenses over a predefined schedule. We can do this for sales and purchase documents and general journals. So what would be an example of use of this? Expenses of subscriptions for products or services that are delivered over a period of time will not necessarily want to be recognised at the point of the invoice receipt. So things like a one-year software subscription that you pay for in advance, the expense can be recognised over the 12 months of the subscription. There's different calculation methods that we can apply to the deferral schedule. We've got a straight line that you can see on the screen there, equal per period, days per period, and user defined. So at the point of processing sales and purchase invoices, we can select the relevant deferral schedule that we want to be applied to our transaction. We can easily report on the deferral information that we've got within the system, so we can see the amount that we've recognised, revenue in this example, any remaining amounts of deferred income. So with NAV 2015, we saw the advent of the ability to design documents within Word. So sales invoices, customer statements. Within NAV 2015, we could open up the document layout in Word, amend it, save it, and basically be masters of our own destiny with document layouts. Now, the new elements within 2016 are that we can actually assign a different document layout to different customers. We can also set who we want to email those documents to. So I could have a statement going to one email address and a sales invoice going to another. There is also a document sending profile available to us now. So the example that I just mentioned was to do with email. So if we've got accounts that we know they always want to receive statements or invoices via email, we can use the document sending profile to set the defaults for the information and how they wish communications to be received. So I've just got an example here of an invoice coming into my into John's inbox that I've sent out from the system. That was modified within Word to add in logos, some nice colours. We've got an example of a statement coming in, and again we can see just some little changes to it to put different colours in, just to show you how easy it is to amend within Word. NAV 2016 has also brought in changes to existing reports. Lots of reports that we've always wished were in landscape are now in landscape. And a vendor prepayment journal has been added. So we can now easily see a preview of payment information for a payment journal. So document management. What's new? The capture and store of invoices and credit notes as incoming documents is a new concept within NAV. This can apply to purchase documents, and I'll show you some examples of that. So why do we want this? So archiving our documents within NAV stops us from having a situation where documents are lost, keeps our books up to date. We haven't got any issues when we're sharing documents for auditors. So the auditors would be able to see the image of the document attached to the transaction. And obviously we're reducing paper administration. So incoming documents that you might receive as PDFs or images, maybe by email, can be quickly linked to a transaction. It's also possible for devices with cameras to take a picture and to create an incoming document from the photo that they've taken. The documents in NAV can be created manually and linked manually to a PDF. Typically this is applicable when OCR service isn't being used. So this will allow us to easily navigate to created documents, find the original document. The link is there for us to open up the document without having to go and root through filing cabinets or even through folders on your network. So you can manually send and receive incoming documents to an OCR service, or you can use a job queue. So what does the OCR service do for us? Well, out of the box, NAV 2016 is linked to ReadSoft Online. So we can send our purchase invoice to ReadSoft. They will read it and they'll send back an electronic version of that document, and that will update information directly into NAV. On the screen there you can see, for example, the vendor name. We've got the totals of the invoice, and they are populated directly into NAV as a result of the data that's been extracted and sent back from the OCR service. So last section, just a little bit about Eeverything. So what's that? What's new? The ability to send and receive via data exchange, easily add alternative EDI formats, and this can be linked into approvals and workflows that we've mentioned previously. So why do we need this? Basically, it's making life easier for companies to be able to do electronic invoicing. Additions to the system have been added in that will support a common vocabulary, so that there are standards that everyone uses within data exchange. So, and obviously one of the real key benefits of this is reducing manual processing. So I've mentioned invoicing as an example of Eeverything and data interchange, but it could be other things. It could be importing exchange rates information from, say, Yahoo exchange rate service, or importing bank statements. The technology behind it means that it's easy to use web services to connect to. It could be that you want to import supplier price lists from their website and bring that into NAV. The addition of Eeverything makes all of those connections a lot easier. So how does it work? The invoice that we've got on screen there is an EDI invoice format, and we can basically map the information from a file to its target field within NAV. So you get several templates of this out of the box, but this functionality makes it a lot easier for us to be able to exchange data electronically for various different reasons. Additions to meet the e-commerce standards, we've got things like the global location number for customers and vendors, the global trade item number on items, different units of measure. For example, the unit of measure in NAV will be box, the international code for that is BX. So the addition of this makes it a lot easier for us to create EDI files and exchange them with other businesses and consumers. So the default sending profile that we briefly looked at earlier is where we can say that a customer wants us to document exchange electronically with them, and we can specify the format for that customer. It's possible for us to override any default settings that we've set. So if I normally EDI but I want to send them a PDF, I can. So it's very flexible with the configuration. Okay, so that was a real flying visit to all the different areas that are new within NAV 2016. And we're ready for any questions.
Thank you, Emma. If you do want to submit some questions using the control panel or chat, alternatively, at the end of the slides, we'll provide our email addresses and contact numbers for you to contact us direct with any specific questions you might want to raise. Obviously, it's very difficult to highlight everything in detail, so I think Emma's done a fantastic job giving us a sort of snapshot really of the main new functionality held within Dynamics NAV 2016. I'm conscious of time. We just managed to get into 3/4 of an hour again, which is great. So there's not any questions coming through at the moment. The last thing I just want to talk to you about is what you could do now. I mean, we've carried out a number of upgrades, not just to 2016, but previous versions. And one of the biggest things that businesses are trying to achieve is a return on investment. So we carry out what we call a readiness evaluation. So that's effectively going through your business processes, current issues, future plans and requirements you might have as an organisation, you know, growth aspirations, new markets, etc. you're going into. And then we look at that and make some recommendations, key benefits, etc. So effectively providing you with a readiness evaluation document of return on investment. That is a pre-sales run activity, so that's free of charge, and we'd love it if you came to us and wanted us to carry out that to help you with any kind of justification of an upgrade to the latest version. So no questions coming through. So again, thank you very much for your time today. We'll leave this slide up now for the next 5 minutes, so please take our contact details down. There will be a follow-up email that goes out just to say thanks for attending with contact details on that as well. But again, thank you very much for your time.